In this episode, we're leaving the Seattle area, driving by Washington's state capital, on our way to Mount St. Helens. Then the gorgeous Columbia River Gorge, all the way to Walla Walla for the best pizza ever.
I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be, 'cause I'm free in my RV, yeah.
Good morning. It is kind of time to go, and this guy is sort of blocking my exit, but we'll figure something out.
Of course, there's usually more than one way to do these things, so I'm just gonna reposition myself a little bit here so I have enough room to turn the other way. Well, this KOA here was adequate. The sites are very tight, but it is very well located, half an hour from downtown and just 10-15 minutes from the airport. So if location is what you're looking for, it's a good choice. Now, as with everything with any trip that I do, you have to pick your battles, and something has to fall off the plan. And I think Mount Rainier National Park, we're gonna save that for another time. We're gonna continue south. I wanna see Mount St. Helens, and then we're gonna do the Columbia River Gorge. There it is, Mount Rainier, ever present. I've been on this sort of quest to try local fast food. Well, at least fast food that I haven't had before. And there's a Jack in the Box at this gas station, and I think I've been to Jack in the Box once before, but we don't have those in Florida, so why not? Looks pretty good. I believe that was my first Jack in the Box burger. Entering Thurston County, crossing the Nisqually River. Olympia should be coming up soon, and all I really want to do is see the Capitol building. There it is. Maybe I could have parallel parked here to the right, but it says reserved. And yeah, the idea was to find some kind of oversized parking so I could get out, walk around a little bit, but I think it's going to be difficult, so we'll see it from outside and we'll go inside another time. Oh yeah, as expected, not the most RV-friendly Capitol Hill here, so actually nowhere to park. So we're just gonna continue,
Well, this 1,000 feet, turn right onto Jefferson Street Southeast.
Visitor parking, you see, but it's all. Yeah, we need a Class B for this sort of thing. Next stop, Mount St. Helens. And as I said earlier, in my original plan, the idea was to see a couple more of these volcanoes here in Washington and Oregon, at least Mount Rainier and Mount Hood. But in reality, I'm gonna settle for St. Helens only. Toledo, the gateway to Mount St. Helens. There's Mount Rainier, still visible all the way from here. We are getting close, but this is the thing. Since the whole top of the mountain blew up back in 1980, it doesn't look all that impressive from afar. This is called Bridge Viewpoint. Let's stop real quick and check out the view. This is the Hofstadt Bridge, built in 1992 as part of the new highway to access the volcano, and it marks the edge of the blast zone. Pretty nice views here, but yeah, everything in the blast zone has been rebuilt or reforested. And such a change in the shape of the mountain.
That's what it used to be like before the blast.
Forest Learning Center. Let's stop once again. Very nice of them to have parking for oversized vehicles. Elk Viewing. I'm in. I don't see any elk, but the views are nice. And all these flowers, very pretty. And we've got some rapids down there. All this, by the way, replanted forest. All destroyed by the blast of Mount St Helens. What's left of it? Let's see what they have inside. There's an elk. Ooh, and they have a movie. That's incredible. They have other TV screens here with news footage. There's President Carter and more exhibits. Let's continue.
Didn't see any elk, at least none in the wild. I like the part about seeing footage from the eruption in 1980. I have vague memories about it. I was, 9 at the time?
Oh, here's another viewpoint. Let's check it out. Forest growing pretty quick. Let's stop here at Lewitt Viewpoint, and yeah, what a view. There it is, Mount St Helens, and this is the north side where the eruption actually took place. Such barren land, where old-growth forest used to stand, and that's all that remains.
Well, there's always a car or two who parks in the RV area. What can you do, right?
Let's stop here at the Johnston Ridge Observatory and learn some more stuff about the eruption and see the mountain, of course. There's plenty RV parking. Well, yeah, if it blows up again, I doubt this is gonna help. In good national park tradition, there's a detailed race relief map of the area. By the way, timing is everything, and they have a ranger doing a talk about the eruption. Very informative.
Which happened to be traveling eastward the morning of May 18th, 1980.
Well, before and after.
That's just amazing.
That seems to be Mount Adams, but I'm not sure.
There's Minitini, in good company. Such a gorgeous drive coming down the mountain. And we're back in civilization, namely Castle Rock. And you know what that means? Wi-Fi! Which reminds me of Surfshark. Well, yeah, Surfshark VPN. I've talked about it before, and you wouldn't want to connect to an insecure Wi-Fi out there without proper protection. And that's what a VPN does. It creates a private, secure connection between your machine, your device, and the internet. It's a software on your machine or an app on your phone and a subscription service. And that's not all it does. It has other features. It has an ad blocker, but the main one. And right now, as you know, this video was filmed back in summer of 2019, but I'm releasing it right now, April 2020. We're all in the middle of the pandemic lockdown. We're all streaming TV. Everybody's staying at home. And unfortunately, a lot of people, international travelers, are stranded in different parts of the world. And what a VPN does great is you can change your location virtually. So let's say you're stranded somewhere in Europe or in Asia, wherever you are, you can just say, oh, well, I'm in the United States. That way you can watch your local TV or perhaps a TV show that is not available in your physical location. And for example, right now I'm in the United States, but maybe I want to watch the BBC or something like that. I just say I'm in the United Kingdom. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Boom, I'm connected. So yeah, very important to have a VPN. And I have a special offer for you guys. If you go to surfshark.deals/myrv, I'll put a link in the description, and you type promo code MyRV at checkout, you will get 83% off your annual subscription here to Surfshark VPN. And of course, I want to thank them for sponsoring this episode. Now the adventure continues. Here we're gonna hop on I-5 south towards Portland. A city which I'm sad to say we're not gonna visit. There's just not enough time. If you think I've been traveling fast in the past, you've seen nothing yet. And this is the thing, I have to be in Pennsylvania in about a month, and that's a lot of ground to cover. Some things will unfortunately have to fall off the map. And back in Oregon we are. And there's Mount Hood. And we're going to be straddling the state line, also known as the Columbia River, for a couple of days here. So beautiful, Mount Hood in the distance. All of a sudden, here it is, the Columbia River Gorge. Multnomah Falls. Let's stop and take a break. It is such a beautiful waterfall, and it is just right here, on the side of the road, on this rest area. We continue. And while I was at the rest area, I received a message from viewers John and Mary Reitmeyer, and they live about an hour away or so, and they invited me to dinner and a beer at a local brewery nearby, and I'm not gonna be the one to say no to free beer, right? So we're gonna meet up at a town here coming up called the Hood River. I think this is it. By the way, wasn't that like the most gorgeous drive? I'm gonna wait for them here at this parking lot. And a few minutes later, here they are. We're actually trying to find somewhere to drop the trailer, and there is an RV parking White Salmon on the other side of the river, on the Washington side. Pretty narrow bridge here. Well, it says RVs full, tents only, so that's that. It is looking more and more like Walmart tonight. Decisions. Tell you what, we're gonna go eat and then we'll decide what to do. Wow, that's amazing, Mount Hood. And you're not gonna believe what happened. I lost most of the footage from the brewery. Rookie mistake, really, but at least we've got some pictures. So thank you, John and Mary. And check out their YouTube channel, Ridge Rover. That was a great way to end the day, and such a lovely area here.
Well, good morning. Technically not an RV-friendly Walmart, but as you can see, more than one overnighter here. Let's make some coffee and plan our day. Last night I erased one of the memory cards before importing it. It didn't have much footage, but it had most of the footage from the brewery. Let's make some coffee and get on the way. By the way, a pretty good Walmart, a little noisy. I woke up several times during the night, but other than that, yeah, it was fine. Even fairly level. I mean, we're a little like this, but not too much.
Yeah, I spilled some coffee. Tiny little disaster here.
In any case, salud. Oh, that's what I needed. I'm gonna clean all this mess up now and study the gorge map. Well, let's do it. Let's explore the Columbia River Gorge a little bit here.
First of all, I am going to go back to Washington and retrace my steps here a little bit, following some of the recommendations from John and Mary and some of the points of interest I saw in the map.
I've been meaning to do this for weeks, clean my windshield inside. Because especially today that I'm gonna be with the sun in my face, it looks really ugly sometimes, on camera especially. So
might as well clean all the windows, right? Something else I want to do is take a nice picture of Mount Hood, so let me park here in downtown White Salmon.
Very cool small town here, White Salmon.
Well, there it is. It is majestic, isn't it?
It is a majestic mountain for sure. We'll continue here in White Salmon. We're gonna continue. never gets old, never ceases to amaze me.
As I mentioned, I'm backtracking a little bit, a lot actually, going west towards the Bridge of the Gods, where the final scene of the movie Wild with Reese Witherspoon took place. This has got to be one of the most beautiful drives in the whole country, and totally under the radar. At least for me it was, but not anymore. The perfect weather and the beautiful morning light certainly enhanced the experience.
Imagine when Lewis and Clark came through here, they must have been like, check this out, wow! Because it is quite, shall I say, picturesque.
Here we are, driving across the famous Bridge of the Gods. Here we go, another toll. I'm gonna go back to Multnomah Falls, but using what is supposed to be a slightly more scenic route this time, the historic Columbia River Highway. And we might not be able to see Multnomah Falls, but here we have Horseshoe Tail Falls. Very pretty. It would seem we are out of luck. There doesn't seem to be any RV parking. This one says bus only, so that's that. Let's take a break. I have to figure out a way to turn around and go back east.
Oregon history. Alright, that was a pretty vista point. Although, I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the time, these designated vista points are not the most scenic of views. But this one was okay. Very dirty, filthy. You can tell people have been partying here at night. But what can you do, right?
In 500 feet,
Right.
merge onto I-84 West.
Let's go have breakfast because I'm getting very hungry.
Let's stop here at the same familiar rest area by Multnomah Falls and let's cook some breakfast, shall we? Let's start with some bacon because everything is good with bacon, right? Some scrambled eggs, frozen chopped onions, too hot perhaps? Multicolored frozen veggies, and a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Ham, cheese, and we'll let it melt. Flour tortilla.
And we'll call it breakfast. Cheers. Well, we're gonna continue driving to the east. I just made breakfast, took a quick shower, if you can tell, shaved. And, I don't know if you can see it well, but that waterfall is really beautiful. It looked a lot better yesterday. The lighting in the morning is not the best. So if you come see that waterfall, come in the afternoon. And they have some place to eat across the street, and they have some tourist information here.
Well, we are now indubitably driving east, and with every mile, getting a little bit closer to home base in Florida. This whole episode is essentially the beginning of the return trip, but still, there's a lot left to see. I'm gonna take a break from the interstate here in a few and take the slower historic Columbia River Highway.
Driving to the east and going home. I have been away for too long.
Wine country? Memalus Overlook. Let's check it out.
Looking to the west.
To the west, it is still pretty forested. But around here, definitely not that, by now familiar, Pacific Northwest forest. Much more barren, almost desertic in nature. Kind of reminds me of California's wine country, like the Petaluma area around there, don't you think? I kind of like it. There's Memalus Island, originally a sacred Indian burying ground. Nowadays, only the grave of one Victor Trevitz remains. A little bit of road work going on around here. Luckily, I'm not in a hurry. Wow, what a view! We're back on the interstate, and after so many days in the lush Pacific Northwest, this is actually kind of a welcome change.
I was gonna skip around a little bit here, go a little faster on the interstate because otherwise, we're never gonna make it. I've got 2 more points of interest and then Walla Walla.
There's Dahl's Dam, and we're going back into Washington. I'm telling you, straddling the state line back and forth. This is yet another dramatic change in scenery, the kind of thing that can only be experienced when you travel by land. Let me tell you, sometimes following Google Maps, not the best idea. This is one narrow, steep road. Wow, what a white-knuckle drive.
Here it is, the big locomotive. Class F2 engine, built in 1923. That's quite impressive.
As impressive as it is kind of hard to appreciate it through this wrought iron fence. I guess they do it to prevent vandalism, but yeah, I would have preferred an unobstructed view. You know how much I love to see large old pieces of machinery, particularly steam engines. This was definitely worth the short stop. I still haven't made up my mind about the town. It's kind of run down, yet kind of pretty.
Well, that was an impressive locomotive. I don't know what was more impressive, the locomotive of that tiny road I had to take down here, but we made it. And I couldn't photograph it too well because, you know, that fence they have all around it, it's hard to photograph through it. Now we're gonna see a replica of Stonehenge. I believe that's the next point.
I see what they did here, but from this vantage point, it doesn't look much like the original Stonehenge. It is actually a memorial to the veterans of World War I, dedicated in 1918 and completed in 1929. As we walk inside the monument, I can see a little more of a resemblance with the original Neolithic monument on the Salisbury Plain in England. The views are also quite amazing. This type of landscape. Uh-oh, no gas for 82 miles. Yeah, as I was saying, this type of landscape, I find it mesmerizing. There's something magical and otherworldly about it. As we cross back into Oregon, there's one more thing I'm dropping from the original plan, and that's Umatilla and the remains of a former chemical weapons depot. I have no idea whether you can actually visit it, but it would have been cool to try. In any case, I wanna get to Walla Walla by dinner time and visit friends and fellow video creators Angel and Kaylee of When in Rome Travels. By the way, I know I keep saying the same thing over and over, but isn't this like the most amazing drive? Each segment striking in its own way.
Ooh, I'm tired. Well, finally made it to Walla Walla, Washington. And now we're gonna have some dinner. Because that's what you do when you're hungry, right?
Lots of construction going on here.
Benvenuti. Free pizza samples, 12 to 2 p.m. Oh man, we're late.
Anyway, last year Angel opened a new restaurant here in Walla Walla, aptly named Best Pizza Ever.
I hear music. Yeah, I think I know that song.
Wine, a rosé, a Sangiovese, and it's a local winery.
I had never seen it, you know.
No, people think it's actually beer, but it's wine.
Yeah.
We're gonna ferment
By the way, we're here at Best Pizza Ever with Angel, so we're gonna have a beer. Cheers. Top Cutter IPA from Bill Breaker Brewing Company.
It's one of our best sellers.
From here?
Yeah.
Cool, man.
I don't think it's local, but it's Yakima Valley, so
It was really cool to catch up with Angel once again and taste his award-winning pizza. Too bad, our time here was way too short. By the way, we're staying at the Walla Walla Fairgrounds, and this may not be exactly technically a desert sunset, but spectacular nonetheless. Good morning. Strange setup here at the Walla Walla Fairgrounds. They have a bunch of hookups but not delineated sites. So I guess you can park anywhere as long as you can reach the hookups and you don't really block anybody, I guess. I don't know.
Goodbye, Walla Walla. And if we weren't moving fast enough, I think I'm gonna start moving even faster. Idaho awaits, and then the rest of the country, the rest of the 11 states or so that I still am yet to see. Actually, it's more than 11, but it's 11 from here to Pennsylvania. Am I going in the right direction here? So we're gonna put gas. I put Boise, Idaho in the GPS, and that's probably gonna be like our sort of destination for today. Although that might change. Here's breakfast.
Let's drive around a little, get a feel for the town if you will, and then the open road is calling. You're gonna laugh at me, but as a self-proclaimed city boy, I find all this agricultural stuff fascinating. One of these days, I'm going to make a video about how food goes from growing off the soil to the supermarket shelf, but we'll leave that for some other day. Let's take a break, and I wonder what that huge pile of, I suppose, grain is.
Alright, let's continue. It's a long road ahead.
I gotta say, quite the striking difference between Eastern Oregon and Western Oregon here. And yeah, two totally different landscapes. This is beautiful in its own way, but we don't have any more of those trees or anything like that.
I guess I spoke too soon. We are surrounded by trees once again. I don't know. I don't understand.
It is called Umatilla National Forest. It was a beautiful drive, wasn't it? Over very interesting, very varied terrain. But I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It was a very long drive.
Well, 27 miles from Idaho, we have entered the mountain time zone. I just saw the sign, so I just lost an hour.
Finally, we've made it to Idaho.
Well, since I couldn't take a picture with the actual road sign, I figured this is the next best thing, right? Anyways, I got lots of good information in there about state parks and where to go next. So that's what I'm gonna do. I still don't have reservations, but I'm gonna drive about 2 more hours. Then we'll see.
On the next episode, we are going to explore the Gem State, just the southern portion along the Interstate 84 corridor. You know, Boise, the Snake River, Shoshone Falls, as we continue driving east, somewhat crisscrossing the northern states. I'm riding in